Hey, we're now live on YouTube.
What's up, Rob? Just hanging out here, Just got some sets in, Just flew back in from Miami. There we go.
All right, I got to get this chat working. Welcome to Brotogp. This is episode number 131. Motorcycle racing has started. And we got to talk about World Superbike, and we got to talk about... Wait, what are we talking about, Kev? Are we talking about the Steve?
Yes. Due to YouTube restrictions on... Oh, wait. Are we going to get demonetized if I say YouTube restrictions on fake news and conspiracy theories? We are... you may have heard there might be like a common cold going around that's not so common that rhymes with Arona Light beer. We can't say that word because is there anybody listening? We can't say that word because they will demonetize us and lower us on the algorithm. So for you out there in podcast land, that famous non-sickness that's going around all over the place and interrupting the world economy, we'll refer to as the Steve. Rob, don't catch the Steve.
No, I'm not going to catch the Steve.
You can't do it.
I think no one is listening currently.
Okay. Well, let's let it go a little bit then.
We're gonna let it percolate.
We're gonna let it percolate. There's a cat in the background. Right.
There's a cat butt in the stream right now. All right.
Is the thing that you sent me on the messenger the stream?
Yeah, it is. And I'm trying to get the chat here. I'm sorry, everyone. Bear with me.
We didn't really announce this one. So.
Oh wait. Okay, there's the chat. Here we go. Pop the chat out. I found the chat. All right. It's already happened. They're here.
They are here.
We already have a Steve. Steve Kurtz Jr. is here once again. Oh
right.
No. Steve Kurtz Jr. is currently sick.
He has the Steve. Okay, so welcome to Brotogp podcast server. Due to certain restrictions on things that we can or can't say to prevent the spread of disinformation, conspiracy theories, and whatnot, there is a virulent strain of sickness going around the world, interrupting the world economy, but we can't say its name. So we have referred to that virulent strain of sickness that may or may not be good for you or may or may not bring the economy to a starting halt as the Steve. So if you have caught the Steve, please wash your hands and wear an N95 mask.
And
anything
stay away
else
from everyone else.
We are not medical professionals. Do not take anything we say advice as medical advice.
Super disclaimer on that. We are not medical professionals. We're not even good at podcasting.
Right, yeah, exactly. You know what I am good at? Drinking.
Sweet.
Right.
All right. So in this episode, of course, we're going to talk about World Superbike as they kicked it off in Phillip Island. And, I think before we even really get into it, I'm pretty sure I told the guys ahead of time that Phillip Island for World Superbike is always nuts and absolutely insane. And then they completely obliterated all our expectations and had an amazing race.
Right.
So,
like the whole offseason, we talked about how we were just like not super interested in GP. Like, oh God, we're going to get honeypotted again by Fabio Maverick being fast and Marc Marquez's shoulder is injured. You know what I mean? Like, and we're like, dude, maybe we're just going to talk about World Superbike for a while. We're just going to watch the bar bang and production bikes. And this race so vastly, or say race weekend, because there's Trey races happening.
Which Everett forgot about once again.
Straight up forgot about it. He's like, what's the super race? The race weekend so far exceeded my expectations. I had been hoping for Mr. Redding Power to snag a win, but overall it was an amazing race weekend that really put that this could be a banner year for them. Now, like Rob said, the Phillip Island is always kind of bonkers for World Superbike and for GP. It's just a bonkers track, but 3 races, a sprint lap, and then 2 long format races. Super Bowl was awesome. We saw 3 different winners. We saw Scott Redding the podium 3 times. We saw Tom Sykes grab pole. I mean, if you're going to talk about the parity in what World Superbike has and the storylines for this season, it literally checked off every box. Like I'm going super slow on the feed.
That was it. That was the whole season. That's all we get anyway. But
yeah,
all right.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Before we jump into that fully, of course, this amazing podcast and YouTube video is brought to you by Riders Law. they're your motorcycle accident injury lawyers. If you're based in the state of California, definitely give them a call. If you need any legal advice elsewhere in the United States, I think maybe even Pennsylvania now, give them a call. But they can definitely help you out. Even if they don't service one of the states that you're in, they know plenty of people around the country that are also amazing lawyers, and they can help you out. So if you need legal representation, please call Riders Law. They do our sport and our podcast and everything about motorcycling a great service by supporting everything. And they need you to call them to be able to continue to do that. And of course, if you don't remember, because we've said this before, if you don't recover any money from whatever's going on, you do not pay a cent to Riders Law. So it's they don't want you to think that you need to actually come up with cash to be able to get legal support and get help from them. So just give them a call and they'll take care of you. I mean, I even had a friend that got hit on his bicycle, like obviously a fellow motorcycle racer friend, but they took care of him for that as well. Got him fixed up, helped him out with medical bills. So definitely give them a call. Yeah, Lawyer Rob and Cy at Riders Law, and of course spell Riders Law with a Z right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You got it. All right. So yeah, we're gonna jump into World Superbike here. I think the one thing that stood out for me really early on
Only
was
one
that
thing?
it was really early on was that Tom Sykes kind of did us a quality service there in the first race, if I'm not mistaken, in turn 2.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In race 1, Tom Sykes and Johnny Rea came together. Tom Sykes was up the inside a little bit, and there was a slight
Rob sex tape.
Thank you for that one. There was a slight amount of contact, and because of that, Johnny Rea ran off into the gravel and had a pretty tough race after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, had to try to make up a bunch of spaces and ended up crashing out. Meanwhile, we had a barn burner at the front, although all 3 races obviously had that, but it was great to see what we would view as a totally new story. So we had Toprak Razgotlioglu up there with one of the irrelevant lows, and Scott Redding, obviously, who was one of the banner stories of the season and this year. And yeah, I mean, we saw in the Super Bowl race later, he would obviously come back, although I don't think in the 3rd race he didn't win. We saw Alex Lowe's snag a win, so I don't think it would have been a foregone conclusion that Rea would have won the 1st race. We saw the same group of guys at the front in all 3 races, and for me, anytime Johnny Rea has that stink face, like someone farted in his taco, like I'm good. So he had that look. He was all frustrated, and in the interviews, he's trying to throw shade, but he's just not that good at it. And I was, I was good with it. No one was hurt, so I was good with it.
Yeah, I mean, and it wasn't. It didn't seem to be a deliberate amount of contact, right? It just so happened to be at a place in the track where a little tiny bit of contact right there is going to send someone wide and potentially send them into the grass. I was really glad that Johnny Rea was able to keep it up and not hit the wall, because for the camera angle that they showed, it was a little hairy. I'm sure he thought so as well.
Right, it was a little hairy. Title of Rob sex tape.
God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I don't ever want to root for someone to crash and like get injured and all of that, but to see like, what counts for 3 fresh faces? Like we've seen Alex Lowe's and Razgotlioglu in the lead before, and we've seen them fighting for that, but they're on new bikes, right? So you have basically 3 riders on that are brand new to their team that all have something to prove. Obviously, Redding has something to prove. He's the reigning World Superbike champion, or British Superbike champion. Mm-hmm. He's coming over to World Superbike. He's kind of trying to prove he belongs on the world stage. He's on that Ducati. He replaces the guy that won so many races last year. It was insane. You've got Toprak on the Yamaha. Yamaha finally putting things together. He gets the factory ride after kind of getting spurned at Suzuka. And a lot of people said that Johnny Rea kind of was sort of the guy that pulled the strings and not let him get that chance to show himself at Suzuka. He did win last year, but obviously he'd been riding on a 2nd-tier bike the whole season. This was his chance to show, like, hey, you should have brought me up, not like Haslam. He goes over to the paddock Yamaha, and then you have Alex Lowe's, who Toprak took his place. And, because Mickey Vandermark's staying there, and Alex Lowe's gets brought over. He's ready to go. I said Haslam earlier, but that Haslam's at the Honda now. I meant replacing Haslam. And you have Alex Lowe's now as Johnny Rea's teammate, who's got quite a bit to prove. He's, kind of maybe didn't live up to the expectations. He was always kind of playing second fiddle to Vandermark in terms of like popularity and focus on that team. And so 3 riders all with something to prove, all on brand new bikes for them. It was unbelievable way to start the season.
I think it's interesting that Redding is a former GP rider that came in just like Bautista and had good results on the Ducati right away. Right. I mean, he didn't win all 3 races like Bautista did, but still, like, to come from a Ducati that's very dissimilar because of the electronics and all the rule set differences in BSB, to come over and ride with a brand new team and still put it on the podium is is there, do you think there's something about the Ducati that is going to lend itself to a GP riding style, or do you just think this is their talent shining more so than Davies, obviously, for him not being up there?
I mean, to quote Grandpa Simpson, a little from column A and a little from column B. You know what I mean? So, Chaz is great, but Chaz is a solid journeyman. He's a journeyman in a lot of ways. He's come from all over to finally get there, and his story is cool, but he's not a top tier talent in the same way that guys like Bautista and Redding and a lot of other GP riders are. So, like, I think Redding and Bautista are quite a bit better than Chaz. It's not throwing shade. It's just, I think the results speak for themselves.
I mean, I wouldn't have agreed so much with Redding until this round, right? Until you see Davies
until you saw
back there.
Straight up. I mean, he's better than him in the sense that he literally have performed significantly better than him on the same motorcycle for the same team. But Redding's, he's a British champion. He's the youngest at the time, was the youngest GP race winner. But also, because I think in many ways, when you talk about the Ducati, a lot of those guys, like the BMW and the Honda and even that Kawasaki, they're taking a street bike and making it a race bike. And that Ducati is taking a race bike and making it a street bike. It's shades of the Aprilia RSV4 a few years ago, right? Like, it's literally like, we got to make a race bike and then do what we have to do to make it pass like Euro 3 emissions, get some lights on it, make sure it's got like a battery that's going to last slightly, like with a charging system. Like, they took a race bike and made it a street bike. Whereas, and Kawasaki obviously has a bike that's an amazing, and they got some concessions with rules after a couple of years of dominating, but that's still a street bike. Same with the Honda, like same with the BMW. Even when BMW was winning back in the day, the problem is those teams are starting with that. And I
mean, they all have their homologation specials at this point, right? But yeah, they find what's wrong with the street bike, like not enough clearance for massive camshafts in the cylinder head, and then they release a homologation special that has a slightly different cylinder head that allows that room, because you're not allowed to change certain things in the rulebook. I think what it was, the homologation specials, they might get new camshafts because now, like, I think lift might be fixed. What else do they get? Well, they get lighter wheels. They get a whole bunch of other things just to make up for the facts that you brought up, of the fact that they start with a street bike and then move forward. I mean, Christian is already asking, or is already talking about it. It looked like the Ducati was lacking in a straight line this year. That would have made it more difficult for Chaz. But I mean, maybe, Redding didn't seem to have that much of a problem with straight line speed. I think they lost a few RPM compared to last year. And then Ricky, a couple of people are already talking about hating on Rea, which I feel like we'll get to again soon.
Yeah, Rob's reading texts from me, Oh, hold on. He told me not to swear this episode.
Just not the intro.
Just not on the intro. So I can't see the chat. If Rob, that's what we were texting about.
So it's okay. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you just fine.
Yeah,
and you're not frozen anymore. You're sexy, handsome, visage is full screen on there, and I'm good to go.
Let the hair down.
Let it down. Let it down. Don't get me excited. We'll get Rob not wearing a Brotogp shirt.
Yeah.
But I mean, to go back to your question about, is it that they're better, or is it easier? Like, I do think it's probably easier to go from GP to the Ducati, simply for the same thing I was saying, is that riding a pure race bike is quite a bit different. Riding the adjustability, all of the stuff you focus on, like, that's sort of been one of the talking points for WorldSBK for a couple of years now, where people have difficulty switching to and from, is that, like, the lack of adjustability and the lack of precision and setup sort of dictates the kind of rider that you'll become. A lot of times, like Casey Stoner could probably go have a perfect season on the Ducati, right, or on a World Superbike, right?
In World Superbike.
Because the
inability, Dennis isn't even here, and we're
right. Dennis isn't even here, but like the inability to adjust teaches you to ride around things, which is a good skill to have, but also the ability to adjust and the ability to really zero that thing in, to really zero in those sights, so to speak. It teaches you to be, it's like a scalpel versus an axe. They're both tools that have their uses, but it may be hard to go from using one to using the other one succinctly. Now, there's riders that have done both. I mean, Max Biaggi famously won his first 500 GP race and his first World Superbike race, right? And he went on to be a multiple-time World Superbike champion. But what was he riding? He was riding the RSV4 for Aprilia, which was, like we said earlier, far more of a race bike turned street bike. You don't see. We
did hear last year that the setup requirements for Davis and Bautista were vastly different, and I feel like we're hearing that a little bit already between Redding and Davis. So it might also be that just Ducati is investing more effort into the setup that it favors what was Bautista's setup and now potentially Redding's setup.
Right. I mean, Redding was cumulatively 1/4 a second off from winning 3 races, right? Like, like he clearly had the right setup. Like 3/3 is great. Maybe people expected him to win, but those thirds were such near wins that clearly he's already quite a bit ahead of where Chaz is on setting the bike up and getting the most out of it. Despite the fact Chaz has been riding it forever. I mean, I said they should have bounced Chaz.
Yeah, I remember you saying that a couple years ago. I mean, he had that amazing run starting, I think, at Laguna halfway in the season. What was it, in 2018 or was it 2017? Right. And won more races than everyone else, but still obviously came up short in the championship because Rea could just finish second and win the thing quite easily.
He could Marc Marquez it. One thing I wanted to talk about to switch gears from Chaz a little bit, just because it's such like it's like slinging shade, talking shit. Like there's so much cool shit happened. Like I don't want. Like
okay. One thing though about Redding before we get off of Ducati entirely, I really did like at the end of I think it was the first race that he called out his inexperience with the tires and thought there was just a little bit something extra that he was missing compared to his competitors, and to win like that close in all 3 races and think, there's still a lot to learn here about these tires.
Right. Like, it doesn't bode well because he did something similar with British Superbike. He didn't go win right off the bat.
That's true.
What I mean? He was on the podium and looking good. He got taken out, remember, but he was looking good when he did the same thing. There's still just that little bit. There's that couple percent that's going to change. I mean, I think the guy can win the championship this year. I'm not saying he will, but I think that he has the team and the setup, and I think the experience with winning championships, and I think believing in himself, which is a huge. The confidence aspect is so massive. And I think he's just riding such a tidal wave of confidence right now and a reinvigorated love for the sport.
Yeah, that's it's gonna make for an interesting championship. Like, will he falter in the same way that Bautista managed to at the end of last season?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I mean we talked about that a lot. Every time that we talked about World Superbike was it's all in the head of the rider. So we're gonna find out.
Yeah, but like instead, Chaz is great, and it's a storyline we could talk about, and there's stuff there. But like, I want to talk about Toprak more. Like,
let's do it.
Let's do it because
pronounce his last name.
What? No, you pronounce it because weirdly Rob can just drop it.
Razgatlioglu.
Yeah. Razgatlioglu, you just got to get it going.
I think you got it.
Yeah, you got it.
They finally, the announcers on the feed finally got that other L that's like towards the end before the I. Razgatlioglu, not because they were saying what. I'm not going to go into it.
Right,
I'm going to go into it. Maddie, we'll leave Ray alone in a little bit.
Yeah, I just think that I'm a huge fan of the kid personally. For his mammoth stoppies circa 2005 Judgment Day 2 DVD, right? Because we know we're talking about if you're in the Army, that dude has those DVDs still. Those are so good. But he's he's hitting those stoppies. He's like a breath of fresh air. He, like I said, he's the first Turkish rider to win in World Superbike last year. And I always root for that guy who was like the first from his country to do something like that's because that's just a crazy accomplishment, like he's not from Luxembourg, right? He's not from like a city that's actually a country. He's literally from a fucking mammoth country with an unbelievable like history spanning millennia, like all the way. Like Turkey is such a nuanced and deep and culture stretching back to antiquities, and the idea that Toprak is the first in that culture to do something is so cool to me. I had a lot of people asking why was he running off of the podium. It might sound dumb, but
but for his win, like it's not just that he's Turkish. Like his entire country is underrepresented in motorsports or in motorcycle racing, right? Like that just makes him being the first so much. I mean, it's obviously what makes it possible, but that's what makes it so grand. Because you brought up their history. Like the country has been around for forever. Or the people have been around for forever, and yet somehow they've never thought like, let's get people on motorcycles.
And what's interesting about him and Turkey in general is like geographically and geopolitically, like if you look at where racing is right now, it's Eurocentric. That's the origin of the sport, but where it's expanding towards and where they're really sending their drive is into Asia right now in a great many ways. And Turkey has been traditionally that staging ground between the Mediterranean and Europe and Asia. Like that's literally what it is. Traditionally, it's that melting pot of cultures between those two areas. It's always been that crossroads, so to speak. And I just think it's kind of cool. I know it's like being esoteric or looking for like signs or whatever, but I just think it's kind of cool to see him really take the next step and rise up and represent like a country, that really is as much Europe as it is Asia. I mean, they're a NATO member, right? Like they're like a part of Europe, not to go like weirdly political, but like, and so to see him be exciting and interesting and throwing up stoppies and huge wheelies and in testing and then getting his shot and taking his shot first ride on the factory bike. He gets that second win, first factory win. I was so jazzed. And in the way he did it, just fighting tooth and nail,
I mean, and I like too that at least race 3 kind of validated that win even more, right? Because he beat everyone else that was there on the podium to that first win, except for like Rea for crashing out in the first race. So yeah, it's it was quite special to see. But you were going to tell us.
I was going to say so more than it was
the podium.
Yeah, so obviously if you saw the race and you saw the highlights, they go on the podium and then homeboy straight makes a dash. As soon as they start to go nuts with the champagne. So he's a relatively devout Muslim. Muslims have traditionally, culturally, an aversion to the consumption of alcohol. Not all Muslims and not all Muslim countries, but in this case, obviously, Toprak takes that part of his faith seriously. So he takes a mad dash off of the podium to not just not consume, but not like be exposed to it or to take part in it. There's not a lot of interviews as to exactly why he does it such a dash, but in any event, just tidbit. Talking point. If people are wondering why he was leaving, that's why. He's a devout Muslim and he doesn't believe in the consumption of alcohol, and clearly involves not being like sprayed and covered in it and taking part in that kind of alcoholic celebration. So whatever. I mean, you drink or don't drink. I don't care.
So last year, the both Yamahas, I think, got.
I'll drink for you, Toprak. Don't worry. Toprak not drinking champagne just means more bubbles for me.
Last year, the Yamahas got 4th and 5th in all 3 races at Phillip Island. This year, they win one. And where did Vandermark? And then Vandermark is 4th and 5th for both the races. And Toprak got second in the second one. I mean, do you think they've invested more? You think this is an upswing for Yamaha?
Yes.
Is it just more talent from Razgatlioglu?
Yes. I think he is more talented because he won on a second tier bike, which is not an easy thing to do because the drop off in World Superbike is notorious. It's exponential. Exponential, right? The drop off is huge. because the talent level of the teams and the technicians and the bikes and the investment is low. And he's obviously was on a Ducati, which was Kawasaki, which was going to be far less supported when they had the current reigning 3-time champ riding.
I mean, that's the support is like written into the rules, right? And we've heard from people in the paddock that knowledgeable people in the paddock that the electronic strategies are shared between all the teams.
Yeah, they're shared, but Toprak's electronics guy just takes really long dumps. Like he's just in there for a long time. He doesn't care. He's not fighting for a championship. He's on his phone, pants at his ankles, and he's just typing away. He's like, whatever, I'm just getting paid like half the amount I was getting paid. Yeah, he's got the same software and the same thing, but he's got to take a dump. I mean, he's got to go. Like I don't believe for a second that regardless of support that it's actually the same. I don't care what they say. That
is the discrepancy, though. You brought it up. It's the personnel between the factory team and the secondary team. Like the factory team can pay for the best personnel,
right?
In all of motorsports, and the satellite teams cannot.
Right.
I mean, Kyle Wyman's having to learn the factory electronics all by himself, or not all by himself, but someone just brought up Brotogp and dumps. Sorry. I've lost my train of thought there.
What did they say? I can't see the chat. This is lame. Someone tell Rob to fix the chat. I can't see it.
Let's see if I could send you a link or something. I don't know. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it.
Anyways, so back to dumps. So there I was, pants at my ankles, teeth, grit, bearing down. Just kidding.
Now I lost the chat.
Yeah.
Where'd it go?
Everyone left. They're like, damn, Kevin's talking about dumps again. So is it that Yamaha's on the upswing? I think so. They even said they felt like last year they were finally getting that last piece of the puzzle. They're putting it together and they were doing well. And this was this was going to be their banner year. This is going to be they really sealed the deal. And I think if you look at the trend since they sort of returned with that factory team, that is the case. And I do think Toprak is, what are you laughing at?
So much, just dumb chat comments. Not you. Sorry.
Toprak is, in my opinion, a top tier talent in Superbike. I think you're going to see it this season. And I think that a lot of people were thinking this was going to be a shootout between Rea and Redding. But I think Toprak is going to play dark horse. I don't think he's going to win the championship or anything like that. But I think what you're going to see with Miss Razgotlioglu is that he jumps on a train and tries to take out Gotham's water supply.
So it'll be a 3-way then between all of them.
So it'll be a 3-way then, title of Rob's sex tape.
Yeah. Of course. We'll get to Gerloff in a bit. Eric, of course we're going to talk about the Honda livery. And what else was I missing in here? I think that's good for now.
Mm-hmm.
There. Yeah, Ricky, I just sent him the link. Kev is like, I got to keep Kev off his phone when he's
I'm trying to use the link.
Is it working?
No.
God damn it.
Motherfucker.
I'm sorry.
Invalid response received. I don't know. Whatever.
Okay, let me send you a slightly different link. One more link, and then you can try this one. But all right, let's jump over then to another topic. Let's talk about Gerloff. So we're American. Gerloff I
am a child of the earth, Rob. I know no boundaries and pledge no allegiances.
You pledge allegiance to what's on your shirt. That's about
yes. It. Boom. If you also want to pledge allegiance to what's on this shirt, you can go to Brotogp.com and purchase one.
There's probably like 2 left.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, there are quite a few double extra larges because I did not.
So if you are of the rotund variety, if you are a hefty boy, if the question is who wins 1 box of donuts or 1 hefty boy and hefty boy wins, go to our website because you can get a couple double XLs. I don't know why Rob ordered those, but we have them.
So. Because we've sold a bunch before. All right, a few.
Because we're American, God damn it.
Canan Chu is also Turkish, and of course Kenan Safoglu is Turkish. But Kenan had a terrible time in Superbike.
Right. We are aware. Kenan Safoglu is the most Turkish guy ever. He's like in the parliament. You know what I mean? I'm aware of Keenan. I'm aware of his Turkishness, but he did not win in World Superbike at the Superbike level. He was an unbelievable Supersport champion, one of the best 600 riders ever in the World Supersport category. But he was never able to switch it across to actually perform at like the highest level for whatever reason, which is an interesting story in of itself. But
and Chan On Chu had an amazing, very short, amazing run in Moto3, and then has struggled ever since. I think that's kind of like the Miller pressure. You know, you win one, and then it's going to take you 2 years to find that level again, because they're on your back the entire time.
Right.
All right. Moving back to Gerloff. So I actually thought that Garrett Gerloff had an amazing first race, even though his finishing position didn't really reflect it. I believe he ran in 7th or 8th for 3/4 of the race. I was kind of just watching him on the ticker there on the side, and then he fell back to 14th pretty much because his tires fell off, which to me is not all that surprising to be a rider that has never raced around Phillip Island, that doesn't have much experience internationally. He does have some, who's probably not raced a real superbike on Pirellis previously.
Damn it, I was trying to. Oh shit, we have a private chat. I just texted Rob in the private chat.
Oh, that one. Yeah, no, that's
I was hoping that would like initialize the chat. Anyways, keep going. Garrett Gerloff.
But for Garrett to score 2 points, albeit against a reduced field, and to fight inside the top 10 for a large portion of the race, to me is an accomplishment for his first round.
Yeah, I mean, the track is pretty notoriously difficult to learn. His first time there, it's going to be a rough start. Lots of things to learn. We'll see. I mean, he unfortunately got taken out. He got a concussion. He was ruled unfit and wasn't able to show the rest of the weekend what he was able to do, which was frustrating. But I still think, the future is bright for him at that the GRT Yamaha team out there in for the Yamaha. I'm pretty interested to see what he can do once he kind of gets his feet wet and settles in. Is good to go. In a sort of weird way, the Qatar World Superbike round getting pushed back was a blessing in the sense that he gets a little extra time to heal.
Yeah, concussions are no joke. Some people take. You can take a year to recover from their concussion.
Post-concussion syndrome is no joke. It can last longer than a year. It can really mess with your sleep. You can have migraines and blinding headaches, light sensitivity. The more we learn about concussions, and CTE and all that stuff, the more I worry about things in general with these kind of sports. But the silver lining, so to speak, is that Gerloff gets a little extra time to heal and move forward.
Yeah, so he I think a full month now, actually. So I don't even want to talk about it. Well, I do want to talk about it, but last point, politics involved with Gerloff into World Superbike versus Cam. I don't think there were any politics.
No politics. I think it was Cam is the champion and he's pulling the Aladdin. Why leave? I'm staying. I'm the champ. Like, they're not going to bounce the reigning champion for Gerloff. I mean, Gerloff is great, and he got his win eventually, and he got the monkey off his back. But Cam is the established, I mean, politics won't say Cam is the, Joe Biden. I don't know.
You gotta take risk. It's a humongous risk for an American to move to an international championship. I mean, obviously, because of the level that we're at in America, you go over there and you're fighting. You can be winning races in Moto America Superbike. You go over to World Superbike, and now you're fighting for top 10s. Right? It's not like it's not like he's going to go over there and win right away.
It's not like it was in 2002, 2001, or late 90s. It's a different situation. They're not riding the same tires like they were. The situation is totally different. He's on the second tier team. I think that why would Cam leave a championship winning situation to go off on an adventure? I mean, I think look what Heron did. Heron had won multiple championships, went over to Moto2, gave it a shot, and the whole thing derailed his like prime earning years.
And I think at the time, I would say that Moto2 then and World Superbike now are comparable as far as how far like how far down you can go in the championship before you
Mhm.
get to like a shit team.
Right.
You know, you got like Moto2, even Moto2 today, right? If you're not on like the top 10 bikes, it's a huge risk. You're either finishing 11th or you're finishing 32nd.
Right. You're finishing like literally you're finishing 10th or you're getting no points.
Yeah. I mean, at least in World Superbike, you're either finishing 11th or you're finishing 19th, depending on how many people start the race.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Newman, Kyle Newman, right? I haven't really heard much about the differences between GRT, Pata, and even the Tincate Yamaha. Obviously, the Tincate from what was it, the third race or the second race, the Tincate Yamaha is way down on horsepower.
Mhm.
And that actually, I thought that was quite interesting because there was always like grumblings that Tenkate was an amazing motor builder back when they were running Hondas, both the 600 and the 1000. And if
Right.
you wanted a fast Honda, you just asked them to build
Yeah.
you one.
Send me a cylinder head.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
but now, like with a Yamaha, like sure they have limited experience on it. I mean, but they're approaching a full year's worth of experience, including winter testing and all their development
I
time.
think it's a whole different ballgame though. You look back when they were winning with like James Toslin, right? And when with Keenan, like James Toslin was winning right with no traction control. It's a whole different ballgame now from their heyday. The situation is totally different on how you harness the power. We've said this a million times for years in the podcast now. It doesn't matter how much power you have if you can't harness it. And it
Can't put
doesn't
it to the ground.
you can't get it to the ground. It
The funny
doesn't
thing is
matter.
they don't even have the power to put to the ground, right? Like control supposedly controlling less horsepower is easier than controlling more.
Mhm.
Yeah, supposedly. I'll try and research differences between the three different Yamahas. I suspect that the GRT Yamaha has very close ties with the factory team and is, I mean, just like Barney Racing and Factory Ducati and all that stuff. Like I suspect it's very, very similar.
Oh, I got the chat.
Hey,
It should be double the cost, Matt. All right.
All right. Should we do like 30 more seconds of hating on Ray?
Yeah, I mean, Ray sucks. Shut up, Ray. Get out of here. No one likes you. No one ever really liked you. Like, you were the spry little Irish guy that was like, the upstart. But the moment you got a little taste of success, the moment you're like became full establishment. He probably donates to RNC and the DNC so he can get his tax breaks regardless. He's so like World Superbike establishment, it's not even funny. I mean, like, if they were gonna vote on who was gonna win the championship, he'd win the most super delegates on like Super Tuesday. Fuck off, Ray. No one likes you. No one's liked you for 36 months. No one cares. Literally, people have anyone but Ray tatted on their chest at all times, just ready to go. People were literally cheering for Bautista like he was the second coming of Valentino just because he was spanking you. The most exciting thing that happened was some guy won 13 races straight, and people were more excited than normal for the monotony. People would literally take predictable monotony over you winning any day of the week. I would watch all 9,000 Fast and the Furiouses in a row over and over before I watched one of your seasons again.
All right. There we go. I love how you just accused a British man of donating to America.
That's how he is. That's what he's doing.
No, Isle of Man tax break. Matty brought it up.
Yeah, exactly. Isle of Man tax break. Then he uses all those tax breaks. Probably has a super PAC that donates to both of them. And he keeps those
Ray
tax
looks
breaks.
like the elf on his shelf.
Exactly.
Oh, and Jen makes sure to say that don't hate on Fast and the Furious. I'm not going to see the new one. I'll wait for it to come to whatever streaming service I've got.
Yeah, exactly. Hobbs and Shaw.
Yes, we know that
Ray looks like
terrible.
one of Shaw's dumps. Like, Ray looks like Jason Statham shit him out. That's what Ray looks like. He looks like a tiny miniature Jason Statham dump.
I mean, no, I can't enable this. Too much dump talk. Too
Okay.
much.
Demonetized.
I don't know why the World Superbike app sucks, because you'd think that Dorna would like get that shit on point because they own both properties, but I suspect that, and this is being a software developer here, that that the team that was already developing all the software for World Superbike didn't want to get fired. And honestly, you can't just like give a team that's doing app development like, here's a whole nother app to do. Like, you should work 80 hours a week. So do both of them. Like, that didn't happen. It's likely the same team. They're moving forward. I mean, I have no trouble streaming from their website. I cast it from my phone. I do it every single time. I've done it for like 3-4 years now. Yeah, that's what I do for World Superbike.
I mean, it's clear that they view World Superbike as the second tier, and they're not going to put the same amount of development energy into it.
They'd rather have the money for it. There's no way. Yeah,
sure they do.
No, I mean, they don't. Like, the whole series, the whole World Superbike series makes less revenue, so they'd probably just have less money to spend on app development.
I guess that's true.
We know that ticket sales weren't the best for World Superbike last year. So, all right, shall we? Are there any other topics for World Superbike? Oh, we didn't talk about Bautista's haircut and the Honda livery.
I've never been more ready to talk about a dude's haircut than Bautista's haircut right now. Hit me with it.
I mean, is it just like your dad haircut? Like, what's going on with it? You've seen his haircut, right?
No, I need to hold on. Bautista's
okay, you pull this up. You pull this up.
I'm just gonna go to his Instagram page. Hold on.
No, yes, we have confirmation that World Superbike gets there, that they exist in the same building, but they get zilch funding.
Alvaro Bautista. Hold on. What the fuck? Come on. Bautista. Instagram. Alvaro 19. I've never seen it. What the hell is going on? He looks like that dude they added to the boy band to just throw a little harmony in the end, but he's like 32. Like, they got that one talented kid for the boy band, right? Like, he's like 19, he can sing, he's got super octave range. Then they got the bad boy with the tats, and then they had to fill out the group because for whatever reason 5 guys is what you need for your group. Shout out to my Backstreet Boys and NSYNC fans. This guy looks like Lance Bass looks like now. Like, what's going on with his hair? That is the hair of the background singer of a boy band who doesn't actually sing. Like, his stuff is piped in. He is just literally like doing the motions, but not producing any sound. His mic is clicked off. What is happening with his hair?
I mean, he just had a kid, if I'm not mistaken. So it could.
He's not a woman. Haircut. He didn't have a kid.
Oh.
He was in
Valid.
He
was in the room.
He was in the general vicinity of someone who actually did the work. Like, come on. He didn't just have a kid. First of all, he just had a kid, and then he was like, peace, I'm out. I gotta go hit the beach in Australia and then race some motorcycles. Deuces. Like, what are you talking about?
Modern day Ron Haslam haircut. Yeah, right. True. Valid. Mm-hmm. All right, I'm glad I brought that up. The Honda livery, in my opinion, the best looking bike on the grid.
Right, and which goes with this classic Brotogp mantra that the better your bike looks, the slower it goes.
Maybe Suzuki and GP will trump that the second they actually get to race.
Maybe.
So you're saying there's a chance.
I can't stop looking at his fucking head. What is happening?
Show it to the camera. I couldn't find a good picture.
I was scrolling. Hold on. I don't think it's going to show to the camera. Hold on. Let me get to it. That better one.
What did you go to, his Instagram or something? Actually, that's probably a good idea. No, that doesn't work.
Hey guys, on my, what's funny is on my screen, I can see it.
Oh, now it's kind of focusing. He looks really bad.
It's just not good.
With it a little pixelated, he kind of looked like the one of the hosts from Great British Bake Off.
It looks like an elf on the Great British Bake Off. Now you're talking my language. That's what's up.
The short comedian woman host.
Yes, correct.
All right. The livery.
Nick, set your timers. You have 2 hours to create 17 identical shortcakes with a strawberry reduction sauce. On your marks, get set, bake.
I'm losing it. All right. We're transitioning over to the Steve. If you've just joined, the Steve is our code word for the Steve. I mean, we need a code word.
I will explain it more. So YouTube has decided that suddenly they have a moral compass. And now that they make billions of dollars a year and they're the most visited site in the world, that they're going to crack down on conspiracy theories and stop spreading disinformation. And one of these things that they've decided to do was if we say if websites or videos reference the beer-associated named virulent virus that's going around the world right now, they will demonetize you and drop you on the algorithms. Basically, if I mention exactly what you know what I'm talking about in regards to a certain kind of flu, you won't be your listens will drop, the algorithm will change, like recommended views, things like that. So Rob's trying to get me not to say the name of the virus. So instead, we refer to it as you've caught the Steve. So many people have caught the Steve. Something like 96,000 people now have caught the Steve. And the CDC is claiming that the Steve has a mortality rate of 3.6%. Anyways, there is Pearl. There are the kittens. So we don't refer to it as its name, neither its slang term nor its official time. We refer to it as you've caught the Steve. So don't catch a Steve. And I believe we have a Steve in the chat right now who is sick and probably has the Steve.
Oh, don't say that.
Well, if he's under 50 and in relatively good health, he'll probably survive.
He'll be fine. Okay,
so the Steve has had numerous outbreaks around the world, but outside of China, we've seen some pretty large outbreaks and some drastic measures centered around Japan and Italy.
I told someone that I would bring kitties on the podcast. So
okay,
here it is.
There he is.
So the reason why we bring this up, if you haven't seen the news, it's that international sport is suffering
mightily.
Yeah. So
are people.
Yeah, that's a given. That's a given.
Right, because the world is a nightmare. I
shouldn't laugh. Yeah,
right.
So actual facts here. The Qatar MotoGP round, only Moto2 and Moto3 are racing because there was there's now a 14-day isolation or quarantine period for anyone traveling to Qatar from Italy.
Or Japan.
Oh,
so Japan also,
now too?
Italy and Japan. So now you have effectively 3/4 of the entire, not like everyone talks about the riders, but it's not the riders. It's the teams. It's like mechanics. It's software. It's the whole paddock.
It's the entire, Carl said it was half the paddock effectively that could not come. A lot of the teams are based out of Spain, Italy, all those parts of Europe.
Right.
So, obviously the entire Ducati team spends a butt ton of time in Italy. So,
right. The Yamaha team has their European test team. Remember that was the famous thing, their second base, their auxiliary home base, so to speak, is Italy.
Yeah. So because of this, all those personnel are unable to travel to Qatar for the GP round. So you just can't have a race.
Right. And if you know anything about Qatar and you know anything about the ability to enter the country or leave the country and you know about human rights in any way whatsoever, you might not want to be quarantined in Qatar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Look for that.
Yeah.
It happened.
So one of the cool things about doing this live is that Rob can't melandry me because it's live. So you make your deal with the devil and that's what you get. We've all been watching MotoGP with Qatar and they pay all of this stuff for the travel fees and the flyaways for years. We all just kind of turned a blind eye to the track and all the hotels and all the World Cup are just straight built with slave labor. They just trick people to come from Malaysia and Bangladesh, Thailand and India to come build them. Then they make them indentured servitude. This is all over the internet. The whole fucking country is the most corrupt place in the goddamn world, and everyone just turns a blind eye because flashy lights and we pay for everything. But that's what you get when you make that deal. At some point,
I had no idea on this.
You have no idea about this? So you talk about the
No.
World Cup buildings, like literally Matt Oxley is so fucking tone deaf today. He talks about how like I've seen these young boys that have been trying to race. They've been here for a week in the hotel and they're going crazy. Ask the workers in the hotel who are working 14-hour days who agreed to come from Bangladesh, and when they got to work and they work on stipend, and when they get there, they're told, hey, you actually have to pay your ticket back, and we're only going to pay you a quarter of what we said we're going to pay you. And if you don't work, we're going to dock you days' pay like this is back in the 1800s and they're plucking chickens out of far and away. The whole damn country runs off effectively indentured servitude. It's like go of the human rights abuses of the government of Qatar and the business operating in Qatar is downright like it's despicable beyond words. They tell these people, hey, we're going to bring you over to Qatar. We're going to pay you $1,000 a month. And you got to pay the recruiting fee. And then when they get over, they say, hey, actually, the recruiting fee is 10 times more than we said. And you're only making 10% of what we said you're going to make. And we have your passport. We're in control of everything about you. You can't enter or exit the country. You live inside bunkered shells. You're basically getting paid in script like this is an 1850 oil town in the United States during the fucking robber baron era. It's unbelievable. So Matt Oxley, when you're on there talking about your high horse about these guys are going nuts, how about maybe one of you could get these guys out of slave labor and actually send them home to their fucking families?
I mean, I guess.
Yeah, I said it. I don't give a fuck anymore. What, Rob gonna melange me right on? I don't give a fuck.
I mean, I guess my opinion was kind of affected by the fact that I mean Qatar does have all this money to spend, and I suspected
it's the richest country in the world per capita.
Yeah, I suspected it was influencing them to more. I mean, this is probably the wrong word, but like first world human rights. But that seems to not be the case.
It's the absolute opposite. And this is why I was like, you know what, man? I don't even really like you get what you deserve, Carmelo. Like you guys made a fucking deal with the devil, and now you got to sleep in the bed that you made. You've had a race that no one goes to, that no one sees, that's under the lights, and the only reason that this race even exists is because the richest country in the world per capita uses their oil money to curry favor, and they tell you come here and we'll pay basically the flyaway cost, the shipping costs for all the Moto2 and Moto3 teams. You think there's a reason they have those kids stuck there and that race is gonna happen? There's no MotoGP class. Who the hell is gonna watch that?
I mean, I don't know. Do you think that the Moto2 and the Moto3 class is more mitigation for just like pissing people off slightly less? Just because we can still watch some motorcycle racing on television?
They're already there, and they're going to keep them there, and that's what's going to happen. I guess what I'm saying is I just don't feel bad because we've all kind of like thought, like everyone just swept this under the rug for years. Look this up. You've had 1,000 people die just building the World Cup stadiums. Just building the World Cup stadiums. You got people disappear. Try to send reporters over there to see what's going on. It's not going to happen. They fucking kill people for doing that kind of stuff.
Well, Brotogp is not going to Qatar.
No, I'll go to Qatar. I don't give a fuck. Come at me, dog. Have you seen these guns? Have you seen this? I'll take a flight direct from Miami to Qatar. You can't handle it.
Oh, man. How do I transition from this, Kev? How do I do it?
I just had that boiled up for a while, and it's always kind of bugged me, and it's just been like, dude, like... This always happens in international sport, right? We put up with... I mean, it happens with the Olympics. It happens with any time. Well, you have this idea, right? Like, does cultural exchange actually improve the like? You know, like you say, like we don't want to be like North Korea, right? You don't want to isolate someone so much that you actually enable their power. This is like why sanctions literally never work in international politics, because all you do is strengthen the power of the regime that you're sanctioning by not allowing economic advancement for anyone there. See Iran for the last 20 years.
I'm down with that. Yeah.
Down with that, right? So, but the question is like, okay, well, we don't want to not go to Qatar, right? Because if theoretically we go to Qatar, we go to China, we go to wherever, and then we are exposing them to this cool, like what we believe is an awesome way of life and all these cool things that we do, right? Like, but at the same time, if you're hiding from these facts and you're actually using the power structure to give them power over you. Like the biggest problem with the money that's received from the Qatar GP is that we hide these facts and we diminish the cultural exchange
Yeah, because like obviously the powers that are or the people that are receiving the money don't want to seem like they're enabling or a part of it,
Right.
even though because they actually are.
Yeah, which they actually are, and then it's when you owe someone, right? Like, hey, like we're gonna come to Qatar and have a dope race or F1, like the difference with F1 going to Bahrain, which has issues, right? Like Bahrain's where Michael Jackson went to hide. You know what I mean? But
I didn't know that.
Is that Qatar is the exchange is not, hey, we're coming to do this thing. It's, hey, you come here and we're going to have this international economic business center, but like also we're going to use this money to pay for a lot of stuff you need, and so don't say anything.
I mean, we've made plenty of jokes too about like Leopard Energy and laundering money through international sport.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Toprak Razgotlioglu has done more for cultural exchange between the West and the Muslim world than the Qatar race has ever and will ever do. And changed my mind.
I'm also down with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's my opinion on the Qatar race being canceled. Yeah, it sucks, but like, you know what, man? Like, maybe just don't have Qatar anyway.
Yeah, so we get to watch Moto2 and Moto3. So we might record something next week about them. But I mean, Joe Roberts actually put in a good showing during testing there.
Right.
Yeah.
Why does he always look like he's like in Steppenwolf? Like, why does he always look like he's the guitarist for like a pretty good band that like your older brother listened to in the 70s? You know what I mean?
I thought you were going to say like the Jonas Brothers or something.
No, that's different. He's not a Jonas. Look at Joe Roberts looks like he accidentally time traveled from 1974 and he's just owning it.
More power to him.
No,
I mean, it's coming back. Like whatever that style
coming back. Mom jeans are coming back. The weird like 80s bikinis are coming back. It's only a matter of time. Like chicks are walking around with jeans up to here, and they're walking around with fucking thong G-strings that have the crazy high waist. You know what I mean? Like know what I mean. You see that shit all over Instagram. Joe Roberts is so ahead, but I'm actually pretty stoked to see him like putting good performances. I'm going to let Rob in on something. I get a weirdly large number of messages about why don't we talk about Joe Roberts more? Why don't you talk about Joe Roberts? We're talking about Joe Roberts. Well, first of all, I'm not required to talk about someone just because I was born in the general vicinity of him. But second of all, he needs to do something.
Yeah, so I feel like we talked about him for like maybe one episode when he showed up in Moto2. But at some point, you can't keep reporting that, oh, yeah, he finished outside the points. Oh, yeah, he finished outside the point. Hooray, he got 2 points this time. Oh, it rained. Like, he was surprising in FP2. Yeah, we're not going to keep doing that. No one wants to hear about the guy that's barely scoring points, which is why we don't talk about my racing on Brotogp.
And no one wants. I would love to talk about your racing on Brotogp. I would absolutely adore it. In fact, I want to release a Rob 8-bit shirt. Rob.
It exists.
It exists. And I want to release it to the general public. And there are hats. Those bad boys.
Unfortunately, Rob is. So this is actually going to be the first time I'm telling more than just like 4 people. Rob might not be racing this year. It's not because I'm speaking in third person. It's because I am seriously lacking money.
Right. Funds, dog. You guys need to buy Rob hats hand over fist. Buy the Rob hats. I mean,
yeah, whatever.
Hey,
I mean,
Rob, you got to sell them on Rob hats because I got to go take a piss. So you're right now. Welcome to a Rob hat commercial courtesy of YouTube.
I should both leave. I should go get the hat. No, so I'll tell you my
Everyone take a pee break. What Rob says doesn't matter.
Sell Rob ponytail wigs. That's awesome. No, the problem isn't Writer's Law banners and not having sponsorship money. It's essentially because my personal finances are taking a hit because my job is kind of screwing up their funding. So if my sponsorship, I've only ever got them to pay about a quarter of my expenses. And if I can't afford the other 3/4 of my expenses, then I can't race. So it kind of also coincides with the fact that I really could use the newer model R6, and you don't just like, even if I sold the one I have, I'm still short 50% of the cost of a new one. So well, I don't know. I could go get the hat, but Kev's not here. He's coming back. I don't know. I'm still gonna be at Laguna. Things should be better by then, and I do plan to race at Laguna Seca. As far as being like well practiced in club racing and having lots of time on the bike before that, it might not happen. Like I'm already skipping my March plans. I'm skipping my my February plans. I can't afford to drive to Road Atlanta and race Moto America out there. Driving across the country doubles the cost. Yes, Maddie is on point that the Brotogp Army needs a shirt.
An army shirt, a Rob shirt. Kevin go, I washed my hands. I'm not an animal. I don't want to catch the Steve. God dang.
Please don't do a GoFundMe for me. I like to offer some people things in return for money that they give me. Right. So if you if you know anyone that owns a business and is looking to get into motorsport sponsorships and needs someone that has access to a podcast and likes to go above and beyond for promotion and do all that stuff, hit me up.
Just think, if you had Rob and you were sponsoring him, you'd have this guy spouting 24/7 and the amazingness of your company.
Ballpark area for attending a race outside of my local area. In my local area, it cost me $3,500 to $4,500 to go race a Moto America round.
Damn, racing is so dumb. Racing is so dumb.
Outside of my area, like including the flights and all the gas, it's $6,000 to $7,000. So it about doubles it. Yeah, and that's assuming, right, that nothing goes wrong. That's also assuming that I place in the top 15 in both, or in the top 20 in both races.
Bachelor auction.
Gotta get more. I gotta get
if
more.
If you actually want Rob to get some cash, you can go and get one of these shirts or one of the other shirts that we've purchased, or you could have ordered the amazing Fabio shirt, except you can't. But we may have some extra when they come in. We may have ordered a couple extra outside of the pre-sale just for you lazy fucks.
Just sell pictures of Buster.
That's amazing. Yeah, exactly. What if we sold Buster autographed?
Shirts.
Just put his little hand in some ink.
Oh, on the pictures?
On the picture.
That's a good idea.
Buster autograph.
A good idea. I feel like I gotta break out one of my cats for upcoming swag. Fabio shirts shipping. So if you've made it this far, so Nashville was hit with a tornado recently, and our t-shirt printer, Pony. And what's the name of her company? I'm sorry. We need to do this. We need to plug her a little bit.
Armstrong Works. Anyway, while Rob's gonna look it up at Pony, so the just like the AI shirts we had that were pretty popular, Pony and her man Sully and me and Rob came up with the design, worked together. They're printing them up. So the Fabio shirt is like all self-contained. The money's going to like Facebook group members, the production. It's all kind of in-house. But they're based at Nashville. There's some pretty gnarly tornadoes, and while they are fine and their production is fine, they had some family members and some friends that were struck by it. It shouldn't affect shipping of that, but if it's a couple days later than we expected, just know that like it's a pretty solid reason. Some people had been displaced and had some damage to properties that caused. So the real world got involved, and that's pretty common in racing right now. The real world rears its ugly head. One of the things that's pretty interesting about motorcycle racing, international racing, is it can be an escape, right? It can be a bit of an escape. You see these like guys like superheroes, they're dressed up, they've got flashy colors, they got all this stuff like that. They're doing superhuman things.
Why do you think I do it?
Right. And for a great number of people, this is an escape from sometimes the stark realities of the world that we live in. But occasionally those things like the Steve virus and weather, extreme weather events can rear their ugly head and still mess with us. So bear with us. Obviously, you know us. We're true to our word about stuff, and we keep it real. So if they're a couple days late, we were shooting to get them before COTA for people. We were trying as hard as we could, but if they don't quite come before COTA, hey man, act of God, straight up. Like, you know what I mean? If you don't like big bad tornadoes, I go buy a Prius. I have no idea.
Dude, Eric just bought a shirt. Like,
there you go.
Someone in the chat just bought a shirt.
My man, Eric bought a shirt. Send him like 8 Buster pictures along with that shirt.
I don't have any left. Don't tell people about that.
But speaking of real world events hitting racing and involved, to kind of go back, I'm not going to get into the crazy, weird political stuff. I was going off for a second because Rob will cut me off. But obviously, we have a season that's a bit wild, right? Like we had a Superbike race, and then the Superbike race. When's the next one? Don't know. Qatar GP is canceled. Thailand is theoretically postponed to when? I don't know. I'm super interested to see if COTA even happens.
It's totally a sticky situation to be in, right? Because I feel like all the countries with travel bans are just going to be like dominoes. Like the more people that do it, the faster it's going to get, and everyone's just
normalizes it, right? It normalizes it for countries, right?
I mean, I've heard from Australia that they're restricting international shipping, and like it's taking significantly longer because of it. I'm sorry again for people that ordered Fabio shirts. It'll take an extra week.
One of my favorite pages on Facebook and Instagram is these Simpson memes pages, but they're based out of Australia, and so they're all of these.
Dr. Zayas? Dr. Zayas is Australian?
Based out of Australia. So right now, all of the running jokes is all of the memes about everyone stockpiling toilet paper because the end of the world is coming to Australia. It's super interesting. I think you're right that the more each country normalizes it, Qatar and Thailand were the first to drop. Obviously, Thailand is actually dealing with one of the largest cases outside of China. Qatar doesn't want it to come because it would spread through their slave labor population and kill them all, and then suddenly they'd have to actually wipe their own asses. But Thailand has a large outbreak that's pretty virulent, and so they're postponing the race. It's interesting to see the difference in cancellations, postponement, and what's going to happen. The question is like, at what point are they going to call the I'm not going to be surprised if COTA doesn't happen.
They're like, I feel like there are already rumors, like people opening their mouths when they shouldn't, saying something along the lines of this season could just happen after the summer break. Right. And like, what do you mean season? Mm-hmm. There's so much motorcycle racing that happens before that.
No, but what happens is if the season is only 8 races long, Fabio's going to win. It's the 1 year that the Honda sucked. They run back to the 2019 chassis so Marc Marquez can look good. Alex Marquez is a goddamn joke. Who knows where he even is at timesheets? They're talking about Marc might have to get a second surgery. It's not healing. And suddenly there's a virus outbreak. There's a worldwide epidemic that's conveniently based out of Italy and Japan. So convenient that it's based out of the 2 epicenters of everything that creates the teams for Dorna. I don't buy this for a second.
We had requests for Dorna stalling for Marc Marquez's shoulder like an hour ago. That was like the second thing people said. When
That's literally what's happening. That guy's shoulder is all jacked up, and they were like, you know what? If we just release a little bit of a strain, if we make this like it's just a spicy flu. It's just a spicy flu.
Yeah, the discomfort on Rob's face is happening because this is exactly why YouTube is going to demonetize.
Whatever. They're going to demonetize.
Steve.
Okay, look, if you don't like us talking about the Steve as an international conspiracy to save Mark, because look what this happens. Then Marc Marquez cannot win the championship, right? They only have it after summer break, but then they have their built-in excuse. They have their built-in story. They've been filming it already so that when he comes... Because what happens is they saw Scott Redding, they saw his Phoenix-like rise from the ashes, they saw Scott Redding's absolute bonkers hero story take place, and everyone loved him and how universally praised Scott is right now. And they're like, how can we manufacture that? These are probably the same guys that came up with the Dark Universe, and they're like, let's throw Tom Cruise in a Mummies movie. We'll make a whole cinematic universe just because they saw Marvel a couple years earlier. It's the same contrived bullshit. I don't buy it for a second. Shoo Marquez flew.
Oh no. Oh no. All right. Aside from that, back to reality here a little bit. I do think COTA is going to happen. Straight opinion there. I think that God, I'm losing my train of thought here. I think that the situation just isn't going to be bad enough by the time COTA rolls around to prevent the entire paddock from just flying over here.
Can I disagree with you?
Yes, of course you
Okay,
can disagree with me.
So I actually disagree. I actually think COTA is not going to happen. And here's why. And I'm not going to get United States political, but I do think that the United States' response to this non-pandemic is severely flawed. I think when you look at what's going on, there's some jockeying to control the narrative. Between the availability of test kits, who can and can't speak out of the government regarding this. There's a little bit of Chinese totalitarian tactics taking place. And I think that what you're going to see, unfortunately, is an explosion of cases because they've dropped it down. Now, me personally, I'm not super...
Hold on. All that stuff you said at the beginning, I was like, Kev is just supporting my point here. And then you dropped the last line, and I was like, no.
It's going to be an explosion of cases. And I think the explosion of cases is going to turn to states taking matters in their own hands a little bit. You already see it with California effectively taking the lead. And again, I'm not endorsing political sides or candidates when it comes to United States politics, but I do think that the initial response has been bungled, and that bungling is going to result in a larger number of confirmed cases or uncertainty because the narrative is attempting to be controlled from the top down. And
we already know that the number of cases is much larger than has been reported, because like everyone in Seattle, Washington is essentially saying like, oh, damn, this has been here for how long?
Right. Absolutely. Right. And I think that when you look at Seattle, Washington, what's the nearest, to COTA is it's Austin, Texas. What's Austin, Texas? But it's effectively the cultural capital for, some Texan guys are going to fucking kill me if I say that shit. Brandon Turner is going to kill me. Brandon, shout out.
We're saying Austin is the capital.
If I say Austin, the cultural capital, I'm going to get killed by the Texas fans. Cool. I don't mean that. I love Austin. I was just in Austin. Barbecue 4 days. Me and my fucking coach Danny ate ourselves sick out of Boston.
Mike Falcone's got my back. Much larger than reported. Title of Rob Sex Day.
Nice. But I do think that we're going to see Italy just proposed a 30-day ban on sporting events. COTA is not a large enough event to not get canceled.
I mean, I do worry that that pro sporting events are increasing the risk for all of society, right? Because just spitballing here, like a fan shows up that is infected, spreads it to one person in the paddock, they spread it to everyone else in the paddock then moves to a different country and does the same thing to all of the fans there, right? Like, I don't know. I would maybe the paddock should be...
To comment on Ricky Yu's thing about BS, same scares for SARS, H1N1, Ebola, hantavirus. I don't actually disagree with that. Don't spill, wear a mask. Now that is clever. I don't actually disagree that there's a bit of fear mongering going on. But to go back to our previous point, and don't get me, I'm not afraid. I was in Africa in 2014 when Ebola hit. Not only was I in Africa, I was in the Congo in 2014 when Ebola was going off. It was spicy Ebola for days, son. Now most people saw that there was an Ebola outbreak in West Africa, Sierra Leone, which I'd also been, but I was actually in Congo when the secondary outbreak happened, where fucking Ebola came from. So I'm not trying to say I'm fear mongering or some pussyfoot or what about it. I'm not particularly worried about it, but because to go back to our previous point from the episode, they've normalized it. They've normalized the ability to say, okay, right? They literally, Qatar canceled, then Thailand canceled, then they canceled World Superbike. Then Italy is saying, hey, maybe we just cancel everything for 30 days. What is happening is a domino effect of cancellation and postponement because they're normalizing it. And COTA is just far enough away for these normalizations to line up with increasing cases. I'm not personally worried about these outbreaks, and I don't think a lot of other people should be. You should, make sure you're eating healthy, getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, taking your vitamins, all that stuff, and you'll be fine. But realistically, by normalizing it across multiple governmental agencies and non-governmental agencies, the ability to have a race canceled is far more realistic than it would have been during like the SARS outbreak or the Ebola outbreak.
Well, and we've I don't know if we've talked much about this before, but these international sporting bodies are practically political entities.
Correct. There's no practical about it. They're almost political entities who do sporting events.
Yeah. So it's, I don't know. It's going to be a very weird situation for Brotogp, for anyone that bought tickets to all of these rounds, for people that have already lined up their travel. I mean, hell, buy travel insurance before the price of travel insurance goes up.
Before it makes it not worth it, right?
Yeah, if you're planning on going to a round. I mean, I'm planning on going to Catalunya. I bought pretty much everything but like one hotel for one day and actually the tickets for the race, because I still haven't picked a grandstand. But it's just, and I need the travel insurance because it's in June, and like things are either going to be better or they're going to be significantly worse by then.
Right.
And I don't even know. Apparently I should just buy a bidet too and not worry about like all the
What's
toilet
up?
stuff.
You gotta, fuck toilet paper, just spritz some warm water up that booty hole.
They sell like $10 attachments at Home Depot. Just go for it.
Right.
I knew this topic was gonna get weird and a little depressing.
Whatever. It's not even depressing. It's just that I'm not super depressed about it. Look, life goes on. We've had races canceled by rain in the desert. We've had races canceled by hurricanes, right? Like we've had races canceled because Silverstone just decided they were going to like pave their like with sandpaper. You know what I mean? Like we've had
with blocks of ice.
Right. Racing will get through. The world will persevere. Like that's like you have to be almost stoic about it. Like it's not under your like you got to go read some Marcus Aurelius or some Epicurus. Like it just is what it is. You can't control it, so worrying about it is not like super productive. Like that is what it is. Like if you want to go to Coda, plan on going to Coda, and just know that like if it gets canceled, man, like don't worry. You can watch Marquez win 5 more times at that track if you really want. If that's like what you were super into, you know, like, he's gonna win again.
I mean, if Coda gets canceled, maybe the coolest thing that happens in early April is the Fabio shirts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, don't worry. Yeah, you can't. Hey, you can't not get your Fabio shirts on time if there is no Coda.
That's just mean. Yeah, well, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not going to change my travel plans for Catalunya. I'm not going to change my like goings on here in San Diego. I suspect that other people are going to have to adjust their lives, and I hope that everyone gets through it.
Yeah, and like, you know, racing can go on, because don't get me wrong, like even if there's no race, even if we got 5, 6, 7 races deleted, you don't have to worry, because they already charged you for your video pass and auto renewal that bad boy, and you got all the highlights from winter testing, all 8 minutes of it, so you can go watch all the old races if you want. I'm here to tell y'all right now, if the first half of the season is canceled, we are literally just going to travel back in time. All you motherfuckers are going to watch the first 9 races from 2006, and we're just going to record that podcast like it's 2006. I'm literally going to be rocking out to some emo. Taking Back Sunday is just going to be blasting. I'm going to have like a nose ring and my ears gauged. It's going to be fucking lit. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. I will have camo shorts on, and I will be blasting, like, you know, My Chemical Romance, The Black Parade. You know what's up.
Tonlo is accusing us of plugs, and I don't think that's true, because you can't buy the shirts anymore. So is it really a plug?
Wait, what am I plugging?
Yeah, all the shirt plugs. All the shirt plugs.
Hey, who is that doing that?
I don't know. Tonlo 4429.
Hey, Tonlo 4429. Go start your own podcast and fund a way to have that, and start your own Facebook group and start your own Instagram page. And also, you should go race on your own. And if you want to slang a shirt from time to time, make a couple extra bucks to help cover the cost of all the free entertainment you give out, you should totally do that.
I shouldn't have said anything.
One of my favorite things is that like people don't realize, like, we should just start roasting like people online. You know what I mean?
Well, you think that would work?
Just roasting people? People would absolutely, if we want to raise money for Rob's Racing by getting roasted by Kevin, people would do that.
Oh, and we could invite them on the show.
Right.
Just
Yeah, we'll put them
one
on
every show. Yeah, we'll put
Yeah.
them on the show. They just have their face right there while they get roasted for 20 minutes by Kevin.
Right. Exactly.
All right, moving on. So oh God, what are we going to talk about here? I mean, Coda's going to be the first round if it happens. Valentino Rossi is a god and is not going to get sick.
He's the doctor.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I have anything left. Someone think of a topic here in the chat. I know you're 10 seconds behind.
Yeah, exactly.
First GP rider to get the Steve.
That's rough.
That's not cool. The first GP rider to get
the beer flu
to get the Steve. I mean, someone said way up ahead that Alesia's already in Qatar and has been there, and his team should just be allowed to race.
Right, it'd be the only one. It'd be like when Stefan Bradl started at the front, except there was no one else behind him, just running sprint laps.
Yeah, it'd be great. It would be terrible if he still didn't finish.
Yeah. No, in Aprilia, that's actually what would happen. You know what I mean? Like
it's a brand new motorcycle, brand new engine, brand new everything, right? Like they were rebuilding the motors during the tests just to actually be able to put miles on the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if they accidentally popped an engine.
Right. So everyone is stoked on the 2006 retrospective, if that's the one. But so there's what you do, guys. If for some reason we have extended cancellations of rounds for GP, we'll just go back to 2006.
Didn't we? I think we need to send people back. Didn't we do that for episode 69?
We did it for episode 69 for Nikki Hayden. God rest his soul. We did one of my favorite episodes ever. Go back and listen to episode 69 if you can find it. It's around there somewhere. What an amazing episode.
It's not on YouTube. It's just on iTunes. So it's definitely on iTunes. Just scroll way back.
Scroll super far back.
I mean, we're now just past double that, or we're almost to double. We're at 131. Yeah, Alex Marquez doesn't get any hugs. He's going to. All right, Kev. New segment.
Okay.
Outlandish predictions.
Outlandish predictions.
We're so bad at predictions.
That's not a new segment. That's effectively what we regularly do.
Yeah, but I'm like putting a title to it now, so it's,
okay.
It's an outlandish prediction. I'm gonna say that, and this is partially wishful thinking. I'm gonna say that Alex Marquez is booted from the factory team at the end of the season. If they race like a significant number of
Alex Marquez is like when a couple has a baby to save a marriage. Might be the greatest quote I've ever seen. That's the most and of course it comes it comes from my man Remy. Literally, like your true meme god. If you were on the Brotogp Army page, that is Bilal. That is my man. We talked on the phone yesterday, actually, but I can't even get past like the greatest quote ever.
Christian says Jack Miller will win the shortened season.
No,
I'm too outlandish. I'm sorry, it's not gonna happen. All right, what else do you got? What else do you got for outlandish predictions?
You gotta set me up with this. You gotta you can't just drop the bomb on predictions like this. Like outlandish.
First Yamaha to win a race. Which rider?
Maverick. I don't think it's outlandish. I mean, I can't do it out like by saying outlandish. You're saying say something that's totally wrong.
All right. Well, okay. So say something that we're definitely going to be wrong.
Like I'm never wrong. I've literally never been wrong. I thought I was wrong once. It turns out I was mistaken about that.
You just said Maverick though. Fine,
right.
Fabio wins the race before Maverick.
What? Yeah, only because Fabio, we made a cool shirt for him. You should go to WorldSBK and check the shirt plug that goes out to what's my man out there. Plug. Right.
No, it's because Maverick used up all his winning in winter testing, and now he has like a break. Right? There's time for Fabio to sneak one in there. Yeah. Aprilia will get on the podium some stage this year, if it rains. A lot.
Yeah, I predicted 9 Mav wins a few years back, and what did he do? He won 3 of the first 5, and then they changed the tire outlandishly. And suddenly Marquez wins a bunch again and all that. A round with no spectators, that's the Qatar round, and they still canceled it.
Crutchlow will still find a way to crash in Qatar.
Correct.
From Health Wash Heath Wash here.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Here's a prediction that is relevant to the topic at hand. How many races will there be in 2020 for GP?
And I think that 12.
12.
Yep.
I was gonna say 16.
I'll be interested to see what happens if they cancel significant more rounds, how we view the champion, whoever wins this year. Will it delegitimize the champion if they win, even though if they shorten the race by 4 races, it would still be as long as some of Valentino's, initial championships. Like,
yeah, what Valentino's shortest championship was 16, if I'm not mistaken.
They might have had some 14 race championships back in 500cc. But what's interesting to me is, will this delegitimize the champion, or will people view it as a more realistic champion because overcoming the adversity and all the issues regarding with the uncertainty, right? Like, one of the things about GP is it's planned to a T. Every single aspect is, like, run on the tightest ship ever, the tightest schedule. And will we see someone step up in this time of uncertainty, sort of take the mantle and kind of lead from the front in that aspect? Like, we have so many things going on, so much uncertainty in the world regarding this Steve-O virus and all that stuff, and other things as well. Will we actually see not a changing of the guard, but maybe someone seizing upon the opportunity that would have like Jack Miller actually makes me think of someone that could do that, like who could rise to the occasion to be the unexpected, rise to the occasion and take advantage of rough seas, so to speak.
I mean, so we always see crazy things happen in the early flyaways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're Qatar, we're in South America, we're in the United States, and stuff happens, right? Like, if all those rounds are, and then things return to normal, like when we get back to Europe, like, it seems like that's where the real factories kind of kick off and start improving their performance. If we get rid of just the flyaways, I don't know if I can agree with you, because I feel like just the factories are just going to take it and go. But if we pick and choose, or maybe we start out at COTA, go to Argentina, and then miss like Jerez and like the first 3 rounds in Europe because things are really bad over there, then I could see that really being a wrench in the spokes of the factory teams, and them not being able to fight off the satellite teams or anyone else, really.
Someone just brought up, what if Brotogp shirts are a curse?
I'm
super interested in that we have a Madden curse. Because if you think about it, we made the Pedrosa shirt. He didn't win anything, and then he retired. We made the Dovi shirt, and he only did worse after we made it. Then we made the Annoni shirt, and he got kicked out of the fucking series. If we have the Madden, I'll be honest, that might be the greatest accomplishment of my life, that if we've created the Madden curse, but in Brotogp. Apparently never now will make a Valentino shirt. Not after that.
I mean, we already did make a Valentino shirt.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you say, Rob, about all that stuff is that about like whether we don't have flyaways. Remember, Thailand did not cancel their round; they postponed it.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, though, to, like, we were talking earlier about Qatar paying for all the travel for Moto2 and Moto3, right? The entire season is this.
Plus, we made the Valentino middle finger, and then 2015 happened. Oh my god. We are the Madden.
We should look up the timing. We should look up the timing on that. Maybe we may. No, but so the entire circus of MotoGP is this huge orchestrated thing. Like, you don't just decide to take your 4 747s filled with everyone's motorcycle to Thailand on a whim, right? Like,
Right.
there are a lot of pieces that have to fit into place to do this. So honestly, I agree with Juke Cam 515 here that it's going to get postponed to 2021.
Danny Kent, Brotogp signature cutlery.
When are the Marquez shirts coming? I mean, if we need to jinx everyone equally, I'm fine with that.
Right.
We'll make a Danny
I
Kent
do
shirt.
think that not unlike what I was saying about now I forget what I was saying about.
Wait, to your original question though, like, does reducing the number of races like make
right? Will we delegitimize that?
I don't think so. I think as long as we have like more than 14 rounds, we get at least like 2/3 of the season. I think that's enough competition, and there'll be enough. Like, there has to be somewhat of a storyline, right? Everything's still going to go in order. Like, maybe rounds get mixed up a little bit, just because of rescheduling, but it's not like people aren't going to show up for the race. It's going to be a bigger asterisk if one of the top racers catches the Steve.
That'd be like the biggest, craziest story ever. I mean,
it'd be terrible.
Well, that's sort of like the worry, right? Is that we have this traveling circus of people that literally are traveling around the world in this little incubator all over. Like, that's the big worry, right? Is that someone from Italy, like someone's software engineer guy, has the Steve, and then just slowly, like, I mean, we all saw the end of Planet
Speaking of personal experience here, it's not going to be the software engineer guy because they just sit in their office and don't talk to anyone.
Right.
It's gonna be the PR guys that catch the Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right, Kyle Newman. Canadian Superbike only has 5 races. You call it a season, but you also have lots of snow. And that one guy wins all the time. Right. That's all that I know about Canadian Superbike.
Right. It's all that you know about literally every race. That one guy wins all the time.
Ah, that's a good point. Damn it. Maybe not in World Superbike this year. Wait, what do you mean Danny Kent gets sacked this year? Danny Kent...
Wild prediction.
Danny Kent isn't racing. He's like,
we need to create a Brotogp Danny Kent replica, like samurai sword. We could sell it from like Cutlery and More in the mall. You know what I mean? Or we could like sell it on QVC. We could literally have me like slicing pieces of paper with it, like those guys. Like, this is the Danny Kent samurai sword.
I feel like we can get a YouTuber to make us like a sword or something, and just,
if you are a YouTuber that makes fucking armaments, swords, if you are an ancient Japanese master and you are pounding away at a piece of folded steel while chrysanthemums and cherry blossoms fall and rain down over you, and it's snowing under the majestic gaze of Mount Fuji, please send me that sword so I can inscribe Danny Kent's name on it and then cut Leopard energy cans live on camera.
That'd be great. Do you have the empty cans of your Leopard energy?
Yeah, I do. They're up. I'm not even joking. I still have them. They're on my they're in my kitchen on one of my counters.
Well, Christian, I was also thinking that Alex Steele could make the sword for us. He's currently busy making some huge other thing that they keep screwing up. Other YouTuber. Sorry. All right, everyone. This has been amazing, but we've definitely ran out of things to talk about.
One more song. I'm looking for one more comment, and then we're going to go off of it. Your boy Chad made the swords and armor from Game of Thrones. I don't believe you. You're lying.
Videos or photos are nothing. Oh, and apparently Dennis already has the samurai sword that with Danny Kent's name in it.
I guess that's true. He did have multiple swords last episode.
I also agree that Yunone is immune to everything. We have no update actually on Yunone's PED use. Now that I said that, this video will also get demonetized again.
Correct.
But now he has time to get his lawyers motivated or really going to let him race at COTA.
Right.
That'd be nice.
This is what you get, GP, when you try to hold Yunone down. You get your whole season thrown up. You get right.
All right, everyone. I think we're going to call it here. Thank you for joining us on the chat on YouTube. If you're listening to the podcast, you should think about joining because this is a party over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Straight up.
You know, they should have called Riders Law. That maybe he did. Maybe he did. We're gonna continue to do our recordings live because the software just makes it easy and it's way more fun that way.
Right.
I have no idea when we're gonna talk to you again. As Kev said, we might just start making shit up.
Someone asked what happened with Ant West, and I'll lead out with this. I have actually had pretty extensive conversations with Ant West. We've talked. He's given me kind of a pretty gnarly rundown of his side of the story. Whether he decides that he wants to put it out in public, and like on the airwaves, so to speak, is kind of up to him. But Ant and I have talked. And he's told me some pretty gnarly stuff, and I've told him that like it's a non-judgmental situation. We're here to hear your side. It's like an open mic, open forum, and we'll have a conversation and go from it. Whether he wants to go from there or not, I do know that obviously he's having some problems, and I'm not trying to get involved either way. But if Ant wants to have the conversation more in depth, he can do it, and in fact, he can interact with people if he decides to do it live, or we could just have it closed door session and go over it and then see if he thinks he wants to publish forth. But we have been in contact, so it's not dead in the water. We've talked for a bit. He seems like a pretty interesting dude, that's for sure. But I do think Ant is maybe trying to make a bit of a comeback in racing and maybe play by the rules, so to speak. And so he's not exactly sure that he just wants to kind of throw it all out there.
Yeah, like don't buy the hand that feeds. Like if he has an in back into how he makes how his life moves forward, he should definitely take it and not worry about talking to us.
Right.
A few other things. So if GP at COTA doesn't happen, it's likely, I would say, that Moto America Superbike will still be there. But remember, it's only the Superbike class. Like the Super Sport and Twins and Junior Cup and stuff are never slated to race there. That would be crazy news for Moto America, just to be like, hey, everyone, like show up at COTA. A lot of them are probably already planning on being or Atlanta is the following round, if I'm not mistaken. And it's relatively close by, but still, we're talking about travel and moving the GP paddock around. The Moto America paddock is comparable. You can't just tell people like, hey, take the weekend off of your regular job because you're crew for Moto America and go hang out in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But speaking of Moto America, Kyle Wyman has a new video series, and it actually borrows the title from our episode with him, which is really awesome in my opinion. And check that out. I think he's doing a great job of showing you what it's like to be a Moto America Superbike racer and racer and team owner. Check that out. And I think that's all I got.
Yeah.
All right,
thanks
everyone.
for joining us, guys. We'll try to do live ones more scheduled. We're still kind of playing with the live software, but I think it's been going 2 tests now, kind of proof of concept. Everyone's been loving it. From an enjoyment perspective, I haven't heard 3 tests, but about how we decide we like it from a pure audio podcast point of view. But like whatever, it's free. So unless you're that one guy who bitched about me plugging shirts once in a while, I don't care.
He didn't comment after that. I'm so sad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He was not one of the ones that we're going to roast again.
Okay.
All right, everyone.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Peace.